As if deporting people to El Salvador wasn't enough, now we're trying to expedite and send people to Sudan? Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and I am hanging out yet again with Dina Doll. So it's the Diva and Doll and Diva hour. So here we go. So we have more disturbing news in terms of deportations out of this administration. So there are currently 7 people that are in the country of Djibouti, which is an East African nation, and they are earmarked to go to South Sudan. Now, these 7 people, 7 men, are not from Sudan. No. They're from Cuba, Mexico, and Vietnam. But the administration is expediting their removal and now wants to deport them to Sudan, much like they were doing with El Salvador. Now, for those who don't know, Sudan's had a few issues. They're in the middle of a civil war, basically. It's very unstable. It's an incredibly dangerous country. I hate to say it, but that's just the reality. It's super dangerous. So the whole thought of the matter is that you're going to be deporting people not to their country, but to some place they know nothing about, and to some place that's very violent and unstable is problematic. On top of the fact that federal law does not allow deportations to places that are basically people are likely to be persecuted, tortured, especially if it has to do with race, gender, ethnicity, that sort of thing. There is a provision in U.S. law to allow deportations to places that are not your home country, but this is not that scenario. So, Dina, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this Judge Murphy, district court judge out of Massachusetts, is the one that got this case. And he had, just kind of to recap quickly how this is kind of spiraling in the courtroom for Judge Murphy, is he dealt with a similar thing with the immigration, where they were trying to send people to Libya. And he's at the end of April. And he said, you cannot do that without meaningful opportunity to respond. Like, they have to be able to contest it. This, though, let's just point this out really quickly. These people do have valid deportation orders. This is different than what we saw maybe with under the Aliens Enemies Act, where they're just kind of like rushing people out. This is a matter of where they are sending them. That's the question, not whether or not they can be deported, where they can send them. And so Judge Murphy is like, if you're sending them to a country that they're not from, they have to be able to contest that in court. And so sure enough, then they go and they send people to South Sudan, but haven't quite gotten there, as you said. And Judge Murphy said, this was a clear violation of my order, and we have to figure this out. And they held a hearing. And during the hearing, the immigration lawyer said, well, let's, instead of bringing them back, let's see if we can maybe do hearings for them while they're still in custody in this country, about whether, to give them a chance to say, I don't want to be in this country. As you mentioned, there's, documented evidence of torture there. And that was one of the things they can contest under the international torture laws. Like, I cannot be sent to a country there. So then, though, what Judge Murphy, the recent order that he just issued, and I will quote from it, where he is so upset, is because after this hearing, the government even suggested this. Then they go out in public and they mischaracterize it, right? They act as if this was not their idea. So this is what the judge said. Defendants have mischaracterized this court's order, while at the same time manufacturing the very chaos they decry. By racing to get 6 class members onto a plane to unstable South Sudan, clearly in breach of the law and this court's order, defendants gave this court no choice but to find that they were in violation of the preliminary injunction. Even after finding that violation, however, the court stayed its hand and did not require defendants to bring the individuals back to the United States as requested by plaintiffs. Instead, the court accepted defendants' own suggestion that they be allowed to keep the individuals out of the country and finish the process abroad in the interest of full transparency. The quote quotes at length from the hearing transcript, and he literally quotes the transcript. it's stunning. Like the lawyers are literally lying to the judge about what happened in an official thing where there's a transcript. Of course, Trump lying about it as well. The judge getting very upset about that. And just before I turn over to the other thing that's happening with this as well is the Trump regime has gone to the Supreme Court and said, we want to be able to send people to Sudan while this is all getting figured out. The same thing we've seen a lot. Like they may not be legally able to send them to Sudan, but in the meantime, can we send them to Sudan? And so they're asking the court to lift this pause, because that's what Judge Murphy's essentially doing, like pausing this all until we figure out if they've had meaningful process, give them the meaningful process. And in that scenario, Justice Kagan has given the other side until June 4th to file a reply as to why the plaintiffs should not get sent to Sudan in the meantime. She didn't rush it, if you notice. She did give them a little bit of time, which in itself does something, right? It gives Judge Murphy a chance to kind of figure this out. But that's kind of the lay of the land in terms of a lot happening, frankly, on this issue. This is definitely, as Judge Murphy says in his thing, they are creating chaos. There's, this kind of boiling over, as we've seen with, the Aliens Enemies Act. We're seeing, these kind of build on top of each other.
And what's crazy is that we know that this administration does not have the best track record of bringing people back. I mean, Q Kilmar Abrego Garcia, first of all, he was wrongfully deported, but he's now deported to El Salvador. And even though it's within the government's power to bring him back, they've been hemming and hawing and dancing around and not doing anything with regards to that. So to me, the main argument is going to be being sent over there until things get figured out. Well, we know that if it gets figured out and it should be that the folks should not be deported to South Sudan, they're not going to come back to the United States. They're not even going to go to their country of origin. He's going to try and pluck somewhere else, like Libya or some other country that is on his payroll. Because again, let's not get it twisted. South Sudan, El Salvador, all these countries who are agreeing to house, people from the U.S., they're getting paid. Like they're not doing this for free or out of the goodness of their heart. They're getting paid millions of US tax dollars to basically harm people that get sent there, number one. And number two, that money, again, big picture, but that money may be used to harm their citizens as well, right? Because again, these are regimes and countries that are dictatorships or dictatorship adjacent. So this is just very disturbing overall. And then on top of everything else, what is up with contempt? Like, what is it going to take for one of these judges to be like, bring your toothbrush, clank, have a seat in the box. You're going to go into jail and serve 3 months, 6 months, whatever for direct contempt, because this is direct contempt. Like literally you're lying to the judge's face. It's not even something that occurred out of court that could be misconstrued and all of this. Literally the transcript is here. The judge is like, this is what I said. And you're doing the exact opposite after I told you to do the thing. So I don't see that this behavior on behalf of the administration is going to be curbed until folks start going to jail. And yes, they could be pardoned federally, whatever, but you may be able to beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. And 6 months in jail may make folks reconsider how loyal they're going to be and if they're going to, quote unquote, ride or die for this administration. My thought, because I mean, if you're threatening me with jail, I'll be like, no, sir, you better figure that out on your own. Find somebody else. Like, I like orange. I don't want to wear it all the time.
Well, Judge Murphy did say that he thought by them during the hearing, now he's using this transcript again in his motion to deny the reconsideration about basically the pause. He did say he may very well open up a criminal contempt proceeding around the fact that they violated his injunction. And now this is the third judge we're seeing do this, right? And here's the thing with this, and I know we see it a lot in the comments. People are like really frustrated with the pace of this, and like, what does it matter? Trump just violates orders. It doesn't mean anything. And it is true. We are seeing exactly in this situation a violation of an order. We are seeing other times where they follow through, right? Like with the reinstatement of federal employees, they didn't violate that order. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. But the fact is, a federal judge is going to follow due process, and due process is not quick. I mean, this is the sole argument of Trump. We don't want to give, the deportees due process. We want to get them out quickly. We can't exactly argue for due process for deportees, but not be willing to give it to federal officials and lawyers. Like, we kind of have to accept the fact that sometimes it's slow. Not that they shouldn't do it, but I think that honestly, we should realize how momentous it is to have 3 different federal judges be willing to open up a criminal contempt proceedings against federal officials. I mean, I don't know about you, Melba, but I don't remember the last time I've ever heard a judge do that. So there is hope. I want people to feel hopeful that judges are doing it by saying that they are starting that process. The process may be slower than we want it to be, but that doesn't mean we have to, at this moment, give up on the process. It's possible. We might come back on at some point and be like, okay, these judges are doing nothing. But them saying that is them doing something. And it just may not look exactly how we want or when we want. But there is a process, and justice sometimes is slow.
Yeah. And I know that's hard for all of us here who are just like, come on, if it was me, if it was you, if it was, Joe Blow down the street, we'd have been under the jail by now. But to see, repeatedly, like this administration getting away with things that, defy logic, defy all sorts of legality, and also defy the norms, and there's just no consequence, I know is super frustrating. But I agree. I don't think these judges are sitting around doing nothing. I think that they are very meticulously collecting the evidence and laying a record so that whenever they act, the Supreme Court will have absolutely nothing to say but, yeah, you did the right thing. Like literally everything is right there, much like building any kind of prosecution, even though a judge's role is, but in this instance,
yeah. Exactly. Building that record and doing it right does matter, because it just gets reversed otherwise.
Exactly. Stay tuned, y'all, and make sure to subscribe to Legal AF.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.